Hello, Daniel and Nicolas. Hello. It's really nice to have you here. And yeah, I want to start with the question: what's your interest in art field?
You can start.
Yeah, okay. Me, it started when I was very young with my grandfather. You know, he was a painter, and I was, I don't know, amazed by him, by the fact that he was my grandfather and doing oil painting. You know, that was a huge inspiration for me. Until today, you know, it's still an inspiration for me. Yeah.
That's cool.
And I also started when I was young. I was the one that was winning the contest of drawing and poetry and even cinema. And then I started also playing with programming. So that was my at very young age, and it continued to develop all during my career, I guess.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's so cool that your interest begins at the start, at the childhood. Yeah, and this week is like our workshop. Can you just say some words what the workshop is about and yeah.
Okay, so it's a video mapping workshop where we explore the creative process, the challenge of individual and collective work for public, you know, in public. So this is a huge challenge. We take this step for granted, but to push the reflection on this process with you in Poland, it was amazing. And also with Thomas that invite us. We met him at the Biennale of Poster Biennale Mexico.
Mexico.
So it was, a chance for us to meet you.
For us as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and do you happy with the results?
Yeah, totally. I think what we're exploring here is how you students can interact with an individual creativity process in a very short time and very intensive workshop, and then how this will mix together into a collective piece that's going to be into the public space and will interact also with the audience. So I think the results are very interesting, but we will see tonight how it comes.
Yeah, and for us it's always like a challenge because it's direct, you know. We make the piece with you. It was amazing process, but still until the show it's not done, we always, a bit not worry, but it's a dynamic of going to theater, for example. You never know what's gonna really happen. So that's part of the excitement of the show.
And I must add that it's nice to work with highly creative people like you and dedicated to.
Thank you so much.
Workshop,
Yeah, and we saw that you have some skill for animation, and it's very handmade, and sometimes it's in the digital animation. So I think you have a good program here, and you seems to explore a lot of field of a lot of direction in animation. It's very nice to see that.
Okay, so thank you so much for your time.
Thanks to you.
Yeah.
Could you say how this projection workshop even come to be?
Well, it's a kind of an interesting story because I was invited to the Biennale in Mexico City last fall. And while being there, I heard some French Canadian being spoken, and I just went to see who was speaking French Canadian, and it was these two guys that were invited for the workshop. So basically, I met these two Canadian guys in Mexico City, and I saw what they were doing. And after a couple of days, I decided to invite them to Poland because I was really impressed by their work and their approach, and also their energy, and all the things that they managed to do in 2 or 3 days in Mexico was pretty amazing. So basically, knowing what reality we live in here and what is the reality of our workshop, I thought it was a perfect match. So I invited them, and I, of course, asked our dean, wonderful Dean Eva Satalecka, and she agreed, and they came. So that's kind of the origin story of the workshop.
And now we're seeing this extremely fast work here with us, with how fast-paced everything is, and in 4 days we're able to already have these projections on the buildings right next to us. Actually, I would like to ask what is, in your opinion, the meaning behind this workshop? Something deeper, how you see it?
Well, I think it's an existential, a little bit of an existential crisis, I think, to be honest, because the question of the future is the theme, the central theme of the workshop, and I think it's based on everybody's anxiety on what will happen, in the future. How will all this evolve? How will, for example, AI change our lives, and all of these, very, very disturbing subjects like climate change and politics and inflation and AI and all these things. So basically, I think the theme came from all these anxieties.
I wonder as well, because the workshop is quite heavily tied to design in general.
Yeah.
What in design as art industry or art field even excites you these days or in general?
Well, in my case, it's just it's based on what went on beyond my will, if you want, because it's all based on a chance, like you get this job, then brings you to meet these people, and like when you do this for many years, then eventually you find your little niche. And in my case, it's illustration. But before that, I was doing all sorts of different things like interaction design, websites, print, magazines, and photography and things like that. But what stuck was the illustrative element, because it's very personal, and it's also the thing that I find the most creative, in the sense that there's very little production, so there's no technical problems, like with video projection, that you have the wrong lens, or something is not working, or you don't have the right cable or whatever. Yeah. This doesn't exist in illustration. It's basically you get a text from a client, and then you create some illustrations, and the client chooses one or two, and that's it. That's all. So that's why I actually chose this, because I don't really like to spend much time in production. So I tried to find something that would allow me to be as creative as possible and remove as much production as possible also. And that's why, this is one of the reasons, plus chance, plus the fact that probably it was also a question of timing, because I started in early 2000s. So it was kind of a different market back then still. So all of these factors came together, and that's what defines my job now.
Thank you for your story, and thank you for your time. We're really looking forward to see the results of this workshop.
Well, me too. I hope it will be satisfying.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Without attention, already there's a